Transitioning to Facebook, and then I will. Oh, Howie, I don't have the thing lined up. I totally
What the?
forgot about
I
that.
have your live, Ryan. I'm showing that.
Howie, I've totally forgot about the.
Showing that.
Okay.
We are going to go to share to Spring Nuts.
Mhm.
There we go.
Okay, you're live now.
Yeah.
To the cafe, and we are off and running. All right, we're good.
We're good.
All right. So, welcome everybody to another edition of the Spring Nut Cafe. As always, we have another really special guest tonight. It's an honor and pleasure to have Mr. Bob Santelli, the executive director of the Bruce Springsteen Archives. I know they changed the name, but we're going to go with that from now. But it's definitely shorter. Um, Everyone, you know Bob from the archives and from so many other things, all his books that he's written. Before we start, I want to introduce our host, Ryan Hillegas, at the helm once again, my beautiful wife and sidekick, Julie Chaz, and the pride of Ocean Grove, Stan Goldstein.
The Pride of Ocean Grove. It
Ocean
gets better
Grove's
every time.
been in the news lately. Yes. Yes. How about that? Right by me.
Thank you, Bob, for joining us today. This is great, a big honor for us. And, with that being said, I want to, hand it off to you and Ryan.
Bob, before we even start, I have to ask, can I call you Bob? I feel like I want to
Oh,
call you Mr.
Bob. Yeah.
Santelli, but
No. Bob. Bob is my name. Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with Steve Earle one day, and he said, "You know what's funny about Bob Dylan is Bob determines what we call him. For a long time, we called him Bob Dylan, and then it was Dylan. Now it's just Bob. So I just wanted to make sure we were referring to you in the proper
Yeah,
name."
that's fine. That's fine.
Bob, thank you for coming on. Like Howie said, great honor to have you on here. We've had some special guests, but this is right up there at the top. So we appreciate you taking the time. We know you're busy with a lot of events going on and everything else that you have going on in life. So we appreciate you taking the time. Just for our viewers at home watching, anybody else watching this after the fact, just give us a little bit of background about yourself as far as where you grew up, school, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Well, I'm a Jersey boy. I was born in Jersey City and raised in West New York, New Jersey, which is right across the river from Manhattan. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, I moved down to Jersey Shore to a town, about 7 miles south of Asbury Park called Point Pleasant Beach. And it was at Point Pleasant Beach that, well, I learned to swim. First time down to see the ocean, even though I lived 50 miles away. I was a real city kid. But yeah, I grew up there and went to college locally. At the time, Monmouth College, today Monmouth University. Played in bands. I was a musician and played in bands. A band actually that was pre-Asbury Jukes, I guess you can say, called Train. Not that Train, but the original Train, which featured, among others, Tony Palagrossi, who was one of the horn players for the Jukes. He was in our horn section. It was a horn band, just like the Jukes, except that we had two drummers. That was the thing that really set us apart. But I grew up here and started a career as a journalist. And some point in that career, I made that switch to music museums, and I never looked back.
So growing up, were your parents music people? What were you listening to, around the house?
Oh man, you kidding? Sinatra. I'm Italian American. We grew up 4 miles from Hoboken, right? And my mother was an original Bobby Soxer. My first musical memories, without question, of Frank Sinatra. And it's kind of interesting because some years ago, the Frank Sinatra Centennial, um, I got the privilege and honor to do the Frank Sinatra Centennial exhibit. And man, did that make my mom proud. And I made sure that in the exhibit, we established uh, a replica of a 1940s living room, right? With the old TV, and on it was a picture of my mom in her bobby socks. And man, it was so great. We used it. She came up to see the exhibit like 3 times in New York just to show her friends. Look, that's me. That's me. But yeah, so it's Sinatra for me. And then later on, being a baby boomer, like all of us, I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and that changed everything, everything. And like I said, I knew then that I just wanted to do music. I was always a sports guy and stayed sports, but when I moved down the shore, I became a real big avid surfer and left kind of traditional sports. But between the surfing and the music, that defined my youth.
Interesting. So as far as music was concerned, did you take lessons? Did you play by ear?
Yeah, I didn't take lessons. I didn't have time for lessons, right? And I wasn't, look, man, I wanted to be the Beatles and I wanted to meet girls, right? So why take lessons, man? All I had to do was learn 3 chords, which I did, right? And I wrote the songs and stuff. And I was in a number of bands, all of them down on the Jersey Shore. And then, had the option on occasion, even though I didn't drive, I got rides up to the upstage, and I would go there and to see this guy Bruce Springsteen, who I had met a year or two earlier in Red Bank at a coffee house called Off Broad Street. But I said, forget this, man. God, I couldn't shine his shoes, And so Upstage, I think Upstage started a lot of careers and ended a lot of careers because people just went, forget it. I could never play on that stage because the musicianship was so good. And Bruce was always at the center. And the guy that I admired most, even more than Bruce, was David Sanchez, who
Mhm.
played guitar better than Bruce, better than anyone at that time, especially when he got into Hendrix. He was really is still a very special musician. But I just remember there weren't a whole lot of black kids there. But he stood out not only because he was one of the few, but because he was the best, in my view, of all the musicians that were hanging out there.
And
Wow.
he was younger too, right? He's like three, four
Was.
younger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely younger. But boy, could that guy play. And of course, keyboards was his real thing. All you have to do is listen to New York City Serenade and to understand that David had this incredible background of jazz and classical music, and of course, rock. And he could put it all together in this most beautiful way. But he's one of the, I think, one of the greatest musicians, true musicians that have come out of the Jersey Shore.
He's world class. I heard some stuff that he did recently. It's just a world class musician.
Yeah, yeah, he is really.
So as far as Bruce is concerned, so you had met him, like, do you remember meeting him the first time or the first few times you
Yeah,
met him?
I do. I do. It was 1968, summer of 1968. It was a very brief thing. I was, like I said, I was in bands, and back then on the Jersey Shore, there were coffee houses kind of sprouting up like anywhere else. But you had the teen clubs, and then you got out of the teen clubs, and then the coffee house was a little bit more sophisticated. It was really a takeoff from what was happening up in the village, Greenwich Village, and so we had one in my hometown of Point Pleasant Beach called Room Two, which was a pretty cool one. But we had heard a really cool one up in. There was one in Freehold, the Left Foot, which Bruce played at, but this one was called Off Street, um, Off Broad Street, I should say, which was on Broad Street in Red Bank. And I remember distinctly, I didn't know who he was, and it only years later that I put the two and two together. But I was a big fan of Tim Buckley, Jeff Buckley's father, who I just, no one at the shore when I moved down, because I'd go over the village a whole lot when I lived up in West New York, and just to find Bob Dylan, never did, but just to hang out at Washington Square and soak it all in. And I got turned on in New York to Tim Buckley and loved his work, just absolutely loved his work. But no one down the Jersey Shore um, knew about him. And I'd say to people, oh, you got to hear this guy, Tim Buckley's crazy good. We walk into off Broad Street, and it was an afternoon, late afternoon, if I remember correctly. Lo and behold, there's this guy playing, just kind of acoustic guitar, and he's playing Tim Buckley. I couldn't believe it. There was somebody, and it was Bruce. And it
Wow.
was for 2 minutes, nothing much. Just said, "Hey, man, I, Tim Buckley." He said, "Yeah, yeah, I really like Tim." I said, "Yeah, so do I, man. He's great." And just had a couple of passing words, but that was it. That was the first, and then of course I would see him later on in Doctor Zoom and Steel Mill, Bruce Springsteen. But I never saw him with Castiles, but all the other bands, and that really started the me being a fan. And then of course when I became a writer, and then I was fortunate enough to have access to the band and artists and things that really propelled my career, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Did Bruce invite you up to play Monopoly on stage?
No, no, no. But I did see Dr. Zoom open up for the Allman Brothers at the Sunshine Inn. Where that happened, I
Wow.
remember it distinctly. I remember it distinctly. Big Danny Gallagher and Southside Johnny and the drum majorette. I can't remember her name. Maybe you remember, Stan. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Baton twirl. Yes.
yeah. It was a cross between Frank Zappa and Joe Cocker. The Mad Dogs. It was crazy, and a lot of I remember thinking, what the hell the Allman Brothers must have thought about that. But they did. Bruce told me they did talk, and Steve told me too that they did speak with Dwayne and Greg Allman backstage. They say, "Man, you guys should come and play with us sometime," and it never happened. But the band broke up. But it was a fascinating collection of characters and musicians. I wouldn't say it was an all-star band because it was a
Yeah.
little rough around the edges, but it certainly was something that was very unique.
So what, you said you transitioned from music, actually playing music, into the museum side of it. Like, what drew you to that? What were your first couple things that you worked on?
Yeah. Well, again, my dream was when I was younger, there was no music museums, right? There was no such thing. That I had heard about something in um, Nashville called the Country Music Hall of Fame, which opened in like 1967. But I wasn't a country music guy. I grew up in the city. I didn't have any connection to any of that, so I paid no attention to it. So the idea, the concept of a music museum, especially a rock and roll museum, was beyond. I couldn't comprehend, couldn't even dream that. But I was at the time full-time freelance writer, writing for a lot of the music magazines, critic for the Asbury Park Press, a feature writer for, we had an alternative weekly called the Aquarian Weekly. I'm sure Stan remembers.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And started writing for Rolling Stone. And in the early 1990s, I had published a book called The Big Book of Blues. It was Blues Encyclopedia, which nearly killed me. 600 pages of, oh, I had no idea what I was getting into. But I did that, and so basically, because I had all those roots music connections and spent a lot of time down south, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, researching the book. They said, "Hey, we were putting together a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame." And I knew about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation because I heard about those incredible jams that they would have at the induction ceremonies, but there was no museum. And so Jan Wenner, who was publisher of Rolling Stone, he kind of deputized 5 writers to basically become this thing called Music Museum Curators. And it was like I had heard about the idea because going up to Rolling Stone office, I heard there were rumblings of that. And the fact that I was selected was just blew my mind. It changed everything for me. I loved it from the second I got involved. I would, just think, I had an unlimited expense account to get on planes and head down south in search of artifacts in the Mississippi Delta. Are you kidding? And, finding Howlin' Wolf's guitar. And I found Leadbelly's guitar. I found, did stuff with Professor Longhair's family and Robert Johnson's grave. I mean, it was unbelievable. And so, um, in 18 months, we put that museum together, 5 of us, on budget to critical acclaim. And I loved it so much that of the 5, 2 of us moved to Cleveland to actually open up the place. The late Jim Henke, he was the head curator at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, also he was my Rolling Stone editor. He was from the Cleveland area, so he moved back, and I followed him. And because I had teaching experience and was really interested in the educational component of how American music could impact young kids, the story of American music, um, I left the curatorial world and became director of education.
I just happened to meet Jim. I went to the Bruce fan fest that they were having there at
Yeah.
the museum, and there was Jim. I didn't know who he was, but he gave us a tour. Like he was one of the guys that gave us a tour, and like he's like, "Oh yeah, I used to write for Rolling Stone." Like he downplayed it a lot. Like I had no idea who he was, but I looked it up after the fact. I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy was giving us a tour here, and it was unbelievable."
He
Like
was a
for
great guy, great, real good writer, excellent editor, and he was the one who basically he was responsible for making sure that those exhibits got done. And like I said, it was just one of the greatest 2 or 3 years of my life. I had so much fun. I didn't see much of my family because I was teaching at the time at Monmouth as well as at Rutgers. I'd get done with my teaching, race up to Newark Airport, and be gone, leave Thursday afternoon, come back Monday night, and I'd spend every single weekend down south, looking, whether Memphis or Nashville or Mississippi Delta or New Orleans, and it was just fascinating that I got that opportunity. I just couldn't believe it.
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like if I could live in a closet in the Hall of Fame, like I would. Like just give me a
Mhm.
cot, I'll mop the floors. I don't care. I remember very clearly taking it starts at the basement, but you go up,
Yeah,
and I think it was on the second floor. I'm coming up the escalators and I look over and there's Otis Redding's playing from the
yeah,
accident.
yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like that was just mind blowing for me. So for anybody out there watching this, if you've never been, please go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
It's a pilgrimage site, much like I hope ours will be for Springsteen fans. But, there are people from all over the world. I remember when we opened, I remember doing interviews all over the place, but an interview with Pakistani TV. It was like, you know about rock and roll? What, you want me to talk about Jerry Lee Lewis? What? Really? It was pretty cool.
Bob, then you were involved with a museum in Seattle, which I can't remember the name. I remember visiting it, right? And did you
Yeah.
go from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to that museum, or?
Yeah, I did. Uh, After we opened the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Paul Allen and a group of about 30 people, about 2 or 3 months after we opened, they came to visit us, and they were pretty secretive as what was going on. But we spent the day with them, and I was assigned basically to talk to them and go over it. And I found what they were doing really fascinating. And they went back, and you know, um, I don't know, about 3 or 4 years later, I'll never forget this. I was at my daughter's lacrosse game, and it was like a really important game. And I had a first generation cell phone, a professional one, being the fact that I was a curator at the time and then now vice president. And I remember getting a call on the phone. I'm trying to watch the game. I said, "Yeah, who's this?" What's it? Says, "Is this Bob Santelli?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I have Mr. Paul Allen on the phone for you." I'm like, who? Paul? I didn't make the. Why would he, the guy who started Microsoft, be calling me, right? No, I said, I'm watching the game. He says, "Well, he really would like to talk to you. It's Paul Allen." Like, dude.
Watch the
Paul
game.
Allen, man. And I said, oh yeah. And then I put the connection. And basically, he said, I want you to come out and be my artistic director and CEO and move to Seattle. I I was floored. I said, with all due respect, Mr. Allen, I haven't. I got a staff of three. I don't know how to manage anything. I think you got the wrong guy. I'll never forget what he said. He says, we wouldn't like to bring you out here for your business acumen. We want to bring you out here for your ideas and vision. We'll supply you with all that you need in terms of support staff. It's like,
Wow.
I went home, told the family they were not fans of living in Cleveland. They wanted to move back to Jersey. And I told them what happened. They says, we want to do this. And I said, I don't know, man. I love living in Cleveland. I love my job at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Why would I want to go out to Seattle, which a place I'd been to only once? Well, a couple of weeks later, he sent his plane and wowed my family to death. There were 5 or 6 flight attendants catering just to my 3 little kids. Like, Dad, I can have all the ice cream I want. Look at this. And my family fell in love with Seattle, one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful part of America. And the opportunity was just holy mackerel. And so we moved. It was hard for me to do. Like I said, I thought I'd spend the rest of my life at the Rock, like you, Howie, like you said, and Ryan. You just want to be there all the time, just surrounded, grow old gracefully amidst the history of all this. Fantastic. And without any, I didn't have any responsibilities of 27 direct reports like I had out in Seattle. But we did it, and it was a tremendous experience for me. 8 years there. And 8 years, it was like going to business school, believe me. And I learned a whole lot about be an administrator and lead and create things and understand budgets. And he took me all over the world. I was with him, and yeah, it was a great experience. And we did a science fiction museum out there as well. And then he says, "Okay, now I want to do an aircraft museum where what he collected planes, right?" And I said, "Yeah, Paul, with all due respect, I'm a music guy. I didn't even see Star Wars, man. I don't know about this stuff. So I don't, it's not for me." And so I went down to LA to create the Grammy Museum.
Did you create the Grammy Museum from scratch? Like you were
Yeah,
the leader, director?
Wow.
that was it. Yeah. I remember the first day, I literally got a pencil and a blank pad, pushed to me and said, "Start." That's the truth. Yeah, it was Tim Lywecki, who was he was the head of AEG, Entrance Entertainment Group, which is one of the with Live Nation was one of the powerhouses of concert production. They were putting up the money for us to do it, and so I worked under him, and it was literally he pushed. And that was it. He said, "Okay, I'll see you later. Get started." And that was it, which was very intimidating at first. And then when I started thinking, I said, wow, I could do anything. I could do it anyway. And I learned a lot from Paul about this new concept in the early 20th century, which was interactivity, interactives, immersive displays, where you actually, instead of just looking at somebody's boots on the wall, you can actually hear their music and do something with it and remix it and stuff,
Mm.
which of course is what we did at the Grammy Museum. It was a museum essentially about the art of creating excellent music. The Grammy is the apex of artistic achievement. Well, how does that happen? How does a song win Song of the Year? How does a artist win Best New Artist? And we would explore the creative process. So it wasn't a history museum. It was a museum of contemporary music. It was really what it was.
How did Nora Jones beat Bruce
I was
Springsteen?
just going to ask the same question. I was going to ask the same question.
Yes.
No comment. No comment. I can't talk about that.
That's what we need to explore.
That one still hurts.
Yes, it does.
Hey, she still asks the question, how did I do that?
Right? I remember when she played See Here Now, she brought it up and she says, because she was in the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
So she didn't forget it.
Well, I remember going to South by Southwest before she broke. She had just signed, and I got off the plane, and friends picked me up, some writer friends, and I said, "Where are we going?" She says, "You're not going to believe this kid. We're going to go in this little babe, it was a little basement place where she was playing." Said, she is off the charts good. I said, "Really?" I said, "What does she do?" She said, "Well, just check." And I went to see her. I just got there just in time. The set starts. And I went, "Oh my God. She is really, really good." So you could tell right then and there she had something really special, and the not just authenticity, but just almost like an innocence. She was young, and she just played and believed in what she was singing and playing, and it was really amazing. It was for that whatever South by that was. It was certainly the highlight, one of my top three highlights of going to South by Southwest all those years. The first being, of course, Bruce's famous speech there, which was off the charts amazing.
What are we doing up at 10 o'clock in the morning? So, Bob, we're getting to Bruce, obviously, in the museum and anything else that's going on, but I do want to talk to you about some of your books. Uh, I had this conversation yesterday with my friend Dave. We were talking about. I said, "Oh, Triumph the Comic Dog or Schmeigel was on Jimmy Kimmel last week, and he was doing Triumph." And he says, "Well, who? What are you talking about?" I said, "Triumph." He says, "I know Triumph. I know. Who are you talking about?" I said, "Robert Schmeigel. That's his thing." My point being is that like millions of people know Triumph, but they don't know who's behind
Yeah,
it. I have several of your books that I know that I have, but then I have a couple more that I didn't realize that they were yours. So I think millions of people have seen things that you've put
yeah,
together, maybe written, maybe read or seen, but they don't know who you are. So you're an unsung hero. So one of them, the Big Beat,
yeah,
Max's. You can't see it, but
yeah.
Max's the Big Beat drummers. Hal Blaine, Dino, DJ Fontana, near and dear to my heart. Ringo, and then we got, of course, Greetings from E Street, came out
Mhm.
in 2006, and then closest to my heart, and you went on. I used to call into Dave's show all the time on E Street Nation. So you went into E Street and talked to Dave one day about your book, This Land Is Your Land,
Yeah.
about Woody. And there's one part I want to read about this, but for Bruce people out there watching, if you could check out the book. And Bob, you have a couple great chapters about Bruce's relationship with Woody and where that came from. I think there's a very through line between Leadbelly, Woody to Pete, Bob, and then so if you could just kind of talk about Woody's relationship with
Yeah,
Bruce.
yeah, yeah. Um, it really begins for Bruce reading Joe Klein's book, Woody Guthrie, A Life. Bruce, you have to understand that when Bruce came up, he was a British invasion guy, right? He is listening to the Rolling Stones, he's listening to the Animals, two bands he loved, especially the Animals. Um, and then, of course, Cream, and you can hear all of those British roots blues rock things in bands like Steel Mill. He was a fan of Dylan. He was a fan of Tim Buckley. He was a fan of Van Morrison. So all of those roots, but you don't hear much about folk music. He was, even though he did the singer-songwriter thing in the village, where the kind of singer-songwriter folk thing was still happening. He just wasn't all that knowledgeable. And I think he has to give, and he does give credit to John Landau's manager, both of whom he and I both went to school for American Studies. He went to Brandeis, and I got my American Studies uh, master's degree at the University of Southern California, USC. But we often talk about it, and he would turn Bruce on the books, and one of the books was Woody Guthrie, A Life, that Bruce found and read and was immediately, he's talked to me about it a lot, just not only um, taken by the music and the songs, but his life. His life is very fascinating. And everyone knew This Land Is Your Land. If you were a baby boomer, especially back east here, probably sang it in your fifth grade class, as I did. I learned it as a song that we sang in music class without the controversial lyrics, right? It was simply a patriotic anthem to sing. And Bruce read that book and then begins basically a lifelong relationship with Woody. I found out about Woody Guthrie because a friend of mine for my birthday present gave me the first, when I was a kid, sixth grade, seventh grade, I got the first Bob Dylan album. And in it was a song called Song to Woody. And I loved that song more than any song on the album. I didn't know who he was. And so I began to investigate. And I remember going to Greenwich Village and buying Bound for Glory. I heard that he wrote this book, and I read that book, and man, I just like Bruce had fallen in love with the music, and then I had a lifelong relationship. And that's my third book on Woody Guthrie. I've done three more than I've done on Bruce.
Hmm.
And in 19, I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 1996, I created something called the American Music Masters Series. The idea behind that was to celebrate those artists who were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but weren't rock and roll. They were the predecessors. People like Louis Armstrong or Woody Guthrie or Muddy Waters or Robert Johnson, right? And so I got this idea, and I had been friends with the Guthrie family, developed that over the years. And I went to Nora Guthrie. I told her my idea. I said, I want to do this, but I want to start with Woody. And she sent me to see Pete Seeger, and I talked to Pete about it. And Pete says, great idea. He says, but we have to follow a whole lot of things that we need to do properly because it was going to be a fundraiser. I was going to give most of the money. I couldn't give it all because we were a nonprofit too, to start the Woody Guthrie Archives, to get their archives up and running in New York City before it moved to Tulsa. And so a bulk of that money that we got from the show went to that. But in that show, I invited Bruce to come and play, and he played. Pete played. Ani DeFranco opened the show. Indiegogo Girls played. Arlo Guthrie played. It was a fantastic show. And I remember talking to Bruce a lot about Woody and realized, well, he's a kindred soul here when it comes to Woody. And so we've always had this relationship where we could tell Woody stories, and my research, I would tell him about it, and they go, "Oh, wow, that's amazing!" And of course, I gave him the books and everything, and so today you. Woody is one of his, well, especially today, of what he's doing now with politics and things. That's right out of the book of Woody Guthrie, right? And that's where he's getting almost all of his inspiration from.
Hey, hey, Woody Guthrie, I wrote you this song.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a catchy, like the melody, the way he sings it. It's just
Oh yeah.
like you said, you may not even know who Woody Guthrie is, but that song catches you. It
Mhm.
gets inside of
Yeah,
you. Like
yeah,
he's talking to this other person that he wanted to say thank you to.
yeah.
I remember the part in the book where you wrote about Pete. Pete's Pete. He insisted on buying his own ticket, and he brought his a sandwich in a brown bag because he didn't want anybody to spend money on him catering and the backstage.
And Bruce bought a can of Campbell's soup. I told Bruce, I said, Pete wants everybody, we don't want to spend money backstage. And of course, the people in Cleveland were like, are you out of your mind? We got so many stars coming and they're going to eat soup and some peanut butter sandwich that Toshi made for Pete. No, no, no. But Pete made everybody buy a ticket. And of course, Pete sat in the audience. And when it came, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pete Seeger, he gets up, excuse me, and he's got the banjo and he walks up on stage and plays. Fascinating man, one of the most incredible human beings. And, what a great guy. But he insisted that everybody there'll be no food. Of course, Cleveland says, yeah, right. And there was no food for the sound check. Everybody ate their soup and sandwiches, but afterwards they put out a spread that Pete was horrified until we promised him any unused food would go to the food banks, which it did the next morning. And so he was happy. But I thought he didn't want anyone to fly because of carbon or something. They'd have to like take the plane or something. But no, Pete, and all of those stories, they are exactly who that guy was. Those are not put-ons or anything. He lived that life, man. I'll tell you. And numerous opportunities to visit him up in Beacon, New York, at his log cabin that he built. Right, just a tremendous guy. Honor to have known him.
Hmm.
If you don't mind, if I could read just the last part
Yeah, sure.
of your book. I always ask because I don't want to insult anybody. So this is the last part of the book. Again, This Land Is Your Land, Woody Guthrie, Journey of an American Folk Song. You're talking about the inauguration concert. A few weeks earlier at his home in upstate New York, Seeger took a phone call from Springsteen asking him if he'd perform This Land Is Your Land in Washington, D.C. at the Obama inauguration. Springsteen would also sing The Rising, his epic piece about 9/11, but for the show's conclusion, he planned to sing This Land Is Your Land and wanted Pete on stage with him. I told him I would, but only if he agreed to sing the song with the original lyrics, recalled Seeger. All these years I sang This Land Is Your Land, but never with so many people watching and listening. Washington, D.C. was filled with people, television cameras were everywhere. I wasn't going to let the opportunity pass by. I wanted to make absolutely certain that the world knew the lyrics that Woody originally rewrote. And for those watching, the lyrics that we know aren't the full lyrics. Woody had two other stanzas, I think.
Well, yeah, yeah. Two other critical ones. Yeah.
Springsteen was familiar with Guthrie's early lyrics to This Land Is Your Land. He'd been singing them or a version of them since he first added This Land Is Your Land to his live set in the early 80s. More recently, Springsteen, who had campaigned for Obama, had been using This Land Is Your Land on campaign stops in cities like Cleveland, where both he and the song received hearty applause. For Springsteen, singing Guthrie's original lyrics to This Land Is Your Land was an easy call. At the end of the 2 hour concert, Seeger and Springsteen took the stage. Seeger with his trademark banjo and Springsteen with an acoustic guitar. Standing to the side of Seeger was Tao, also with a guitar. Behind the three of them was a large background chorus dressed in red, white, and blue. We'd like you to join us in perhaps the greatest song ever written about our home with the father of American folk music and his grandson, Springsteen told the huge audience. Lead us, Pete. Suddenly the shivering, and it was freezing that day. Suddenly the shivering stopped and adrenaline rushed into every fiber of Pete Seeger's old, rail-thin body. He stepped up to the microphone and shouted like he had done countless times over the past 60 years. You sing it with us. We'll give you the words. Suddenly, the largest audience ever to sing This Land Is Your Land, which included the president-elect and his family, fell in on cue, adding their voices to Seeger's and Springsteen's and making This Land Is Your Land, on this important day in American history, a national song of celebration. People in the crowd swayed and held hands. Most sang. Some had tears running down their cheeks and felt a warm rush of blood to their arms and legs. President-elect Obama smiled with approval and encouraged his two daughters, Malia and Sasha, to sing along too. For a brief instant, America was one. And with that, the soul of Woody Guthrie floated from the stage into the audience, then across the mall, out into the heart of Washington, D.C., and then finally over the rest of the country, from California to the New York Island. At that very moment, this land was Woody's land, and your land, and my land, just like the song said. Great stuff.
Very good.
Great stuff. Yeah, so to your point, I mean, Bruce obviously has been very politically active. I don't want to get into it. This is not the point of this, but people, nobody's here to tell who can be fans, who can't be fans. What I don't understand is when people say, oh, all of a sudden he's too political. He campaigned for George McGovern in 1972. Like, he's been doing this his whole life, his whole career. Uh, so yeah, I think whether directly or just who he is as a person, Woody and him and Pete all share that same common spirit of wanting to use their voices to make a difference.
One day I got a call from Bruce a couple of years ago, and with this song, but he said, "Hey, I found one of the earliest songs I've ever written." He said, "I want you guys to have it and take care of it." And he had someone drive it over the next day, and it was "All Man the Guns." It was a song that we never knew that Bruce had written early political stuff, but it was about Vietnam, right? And of course, he lost Bart Haynes, his drummer for the Castiles, in Vietnam, and Walter Chachon, who was one of his main mentors from a group called the Motifs, that really was really important to him. Bruce speaks lovingly about him, especially. And I said, wow, I said, when did you write this? He said, 67 or so. So it is one of the earliest songs that we have. But we also have notebooks that we found when he was in high school, and you'll see them. I don't want to give too much away when you come, but there are, he's fooling around with names of his bands, imaginary bands that he would put together, and writing or creating imaginary guitars that he wanted to own. It was really fascinating, but I had no idea that's one of his earliest songs. I figured it would be a British invasion kind of song, right? No, it was a protest song. So he goes all the way back, and we're going to have that on display when we open. But it's pretty fascinating. He was very excited to find it and very excited to give it to us.
Bob, could you mentioned the archives. Can you tell us where that idea came from? And I've heard your story of when you first approached Bruce and John Landau about it, and I hope you will tell that because I think it's a fantastic story. But where that all came about 2017, so almost 10 years ago, was it something you thought of, or?
Yeah. 10 years, but there was COVID there for 2 or 3 years too, which just stopped everything, right? I I had started to get calls when I was at the Grammys. I'd done a lot of work in the past with the Smithsonian Library of Congress, and they would call me and say, "Hey, look, we were really interested to have Bruce's memoirs, his papers and things here at the Smithsonian. or the Library of Congress, you know, and then a Rock Hall, they had their own connection, of course, through John Landau and everyone. But even then, they would say, you know, Bob, talk to Bruce. You know him, and you know, we have the papers here at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So there was this groundswell of interest about what Bruce going to do with the papers, and so you know, I started to think, saying, damn. Man, I don't want to be the guy that has Bruce's legacy move from Jersey. I mean, there'd be a hit on me or something, you know, if I, no. And so I went to first I went to John Landau and I said, John, I explained in the situation. I said, they have to stay in Jersey. He's our favorite son. He's synonymous. No other artist is synonymous with their state like Bruce. It has to be here. I have this idea. I told him what it was that we would bring it to Monmouth University. The basis of it, of course, was really Eileen Chapman, my colleague, who found it. You know, it was at the and Stan remembers this probably at Friends of Bruce Springsteen. They started a collection. Fans started a collection, gave it to Asbury Park Library. I went to see it, and it was starting to get moldy. It was not in good shape, and I'm like, "Holy crap, man! I got to get this stuff out of here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to throw it all out." But we didn't have any place to put it, so I taught. I was, you know, I had gone to school there. I taught at Monmouth. I was a distinguished alum, and so I kind of used my muscle there and weight to say, "Look, you got to have this." The library didn't want it. I was like, "You got to be kidding me."
Wow.
Oh, it's not, you know, intellectual enough, blah, blah, blah. I said, and that's when I pulled rank and I went to the president at the time. I said, look, if we can do this and if we can expand on this, you'd be great. You want me to go to Princeton or Rutgers? I mean, they'll take it in a second. And so he said, no, we want to do this. So basically, I got Mama to agree that if I could convince Bruce that we would build something on campus. And then that's when the famous story stands. I called John, and John says, okay, you got to tell it to Bruce. So I met John, and at the time, Barbara Carr was with us as well. We went out to Bruce's farm, and I'll never forget, John didn't Bruce had no idea why we were there. John just said, tell him, Bob. Bruce looked at me like, what? You know, and so I start my spiel, right? And I'm getting very passionate about it and everything. And I could see Bruce is he's a man of few words and it's quiet. I think he's listening. But we could be thinking about a new song or lunch or whatever. But I finally get through. I said, what do you think? And you know, I see John looking at him and thinking, "What's?" Because John thought it was a good idea, and Bruce says, "You know, and I'm humbled. I'm honored. He had known I'd done the Woody Guthrie Center in Tulsa, and he said, you know, it's fantastic, but I don't see myself that way." And he says, "I see myself as a chapter in the ongoing story of American music." And if you could think about it bigger than that, where I'm a part of it, yeah, I think maybe that might work. And for some reason, I just it came to my head. I said, what about it? We call it the Bruce Springsteen Archives and Center for American Music. Knowing full well, the Smithsonian years ago should have a major museum on American music. I mean, it was, gee, you got all these art museums, but American music, nothing, you know. So I said, well, we'll do it. You know, we'll do it here in Jersey. And he said, show me where you want to put it, like just like that.
Mm.
I said, okay. So John and I got in the car. Bruce got on his motorcycle and followed us to Monmouth. And they were going to replace the police department. It was in a building kind of falling down. I said, that's going away. And I wanted to put it right here. This is, you know, this is what I think. It would, you know, great spot and blah, blah, blah. And he, again, quiet. And then he said, that'll do, just that. I said, oh, okay. And he got on his motorcycle and he left. I'm looking at John saying, what does that mean? He says, you're going to start fundraising. You know? Because I told Bruce, and this is a really important part of it. I said, Bruce, I don't want you to do a benefit concert. I don't want this is not a vanity project. It is not. I will raise the money. And I told Monmouth University that too. I said, you give me the land, I will do this. I don't want the university to do this. Wouldn't be right. It's it's a small 4-year university. They're all struggling these days. And I said, I didn't want to, it was my alma mater. I didn't want to put that on them. So I'll do it. I will do it. And, um, and that's how it really got started. But John just said, you better start fundraising. And that was it. So they all said about 9 words between them. I said about 4 million. And, I just went back and I called Eileen. I says, "We're doing this," and she said, "Oh my God!" And that's how it started. $52 million later. Um, yeah, we'll open in 60. Have we go back to the website? That freaking thing we put that clock up there. I can't stand it because every day there's one less day.
Yes. Yes.
We're super excited over
I
it.
can't imagine like who's involved, what's in there, what's not in there, what's focused
Yeah.
on, how are those decisions decided?
Yeah, well, right from the start, I've done this is my 10th museum that I created, which is
Wow.
in the Guinness Book of Records, right? Not all of them are really big. They're not huge. I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and EMP were pretty big, but um, this time around, it was very personal and professional. Professional because I wanted to do it right. Bruce basically put his legacy in my hands and said, okay, you're the caretaker of it. That's a lot of responsibility being a guy from Jersey who was, a lifelong fan.
Hmm.
And personal because being from Jersey, Jersey Shore, I went to Monmouth. The earliest fans of many of them were from Monmouth College at the time, and I rode Bruce's coattails as a journalist. I had all this access and things, and so it was a personal thing for me to give back to all of that to make this happen, right? And so we started, and right, I just had this vision as to what I wanted it to be. But the hardest part, without question, and you will be the judge of this, just think of trying to tell the story of American music in one gallery.
Mm.
Well, it's almost, and you need a museum, of course, and I recognize that. But I promised Bruce that this would be very balanced, and it is. When you see it, you'll see how we did it, and to use ideas that I had gained over 30 some odd years in the music museum business, put to good use, I hope. Um, and uh, and so we'll open June 6th and we'll see how it goes. So, but I have to say also, Bruce had nothing to do with it, right? He hands off. He just let me do it. And on occasion, like today, like about 4 hours just before he goes on tour, I wanted to take him through one more time, which I did. He's really loving where it is, very excited, which I was very relieved. But uh, yeah, he left it to me, which in a way I wish he didn't because it's a big responsibility, right? I mean, just think about that. This especially here on the Jersey Shores, as Stan knows. I mean, this is God's country, right? So we have great responsibility in my team, from Eileen Chapman on down. Melissa Ziobro, a great team, small but mighty. And we're going to open that place on time, on budget, and hopefully to critical acclaim.
I'm sure it will be. Yes.
Can't wait. We are so excited.
Bob, one of the fundraisers, of course, is American Music Honors. And how did that come about? This is the fourth year. And talk a little bit about that, how the people are picked. Is Bruce involved with picking the honorees and all
Yeah.
that? If you talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I knew again from experience that we needed a landmark event. That's something that the media each year would write about and keep people excited. And I knew that the Kennedy Center honors, of which the idea came from, to be perfectly honest. But the Kennedy Center honors artists and actors and poets, and the American Music Honors was meant to be just about music. And it was meant to be also about artists that Bruce, because of who we are, had some sort of connection to or real respect of. You have to remember, and you guys know this already, but Max Weinberg is a music authority. Stevie Van Zandt, a music authority. Gary Talent, a musical authority. Roy Bittan, a musical authority. Nils La I mean, I'm surrounded by if they turned into music museum curators, it'd be the A team. I mean, they're that good. So the idea was to try and use them as a basically a foundation to select kinds of artists that we would feel good about honoring because they have made significant contributions to American music. And we went to the well early in artists that Bruce had a deep respect for. So how are they chosen? We have an executive committee that meets throughout the summer, and we make all of these recommendations, and we talk, and it's made up of a lot of people who have been with me through the years, and then members of our board, people like Douglas Brinkley, the writer, and others. Sean Wilentz, a great writer, Dylan writer from Princeton University, Anthony DeCurtis, my colleague from Rolling Stone, and others. And then we basically present them to an executive committee, of which Stevie and Bruce and John, myself is the smaller one. And then basically we begin to create the show. Part of it is, it is a show, right? So you have to make sure that the artists that you pick, A, of course, are worthy of it, which they are, but then how does it all gel? How do you create a seamless presentation so that people can enjoy it? And so far, we've done pretty good. The biggest problem that we've had, and it's a good one to have in a way. It's only 740 seats. I mean, that this year we sold tickets last week. It sold out in less than a minute because we just don't have that many tickets to sell. And we're pissing off now more people than we are making happy. So at some point in the very near future, we're going to have to change the venue. It's Pollock Theater right now on the campus of Monmouth, and it is incredibly intimate. Artists love it. I mean, they all come back. This
Yep.
year, Jackson Brown is coming back. Darlene Love is coming back. Tom Morello's coming back. Steve Earle is. These guys, they want to come and be a part of it. And so we're honored at that. But it's time to move because boy, we get a lot of angry people, and
You
I
haven't
empathize.
noticed, so.
Yeah, they just say, "Hey, you can't get tickets. This is stupid." And I try to explain to them, I only have this many, and you crawl before you walk, and you walk before you run, right? And so we're leaving the crawling stage and now going into the second phase. So I think pretty much it's almost certainty that next year we'll be in a bigger venue.
Yeah, like it should be at Madison Square Garden.
Not going that far.
Yeah.
Not yet. That's the run. Even that's the sprint. You know? But yeah, we'll move someplace, and whether it's a place like the Count Basie Theater or NJ Pack, we certainly want to keep it in Jersey.
Yeah.
If we can, but so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But clearly, it's time that the event has matured.
Are you sure you don't want to just look into a bigger venue for this year?
I wish we could, but we're 3 weeks out. Problem. But and believe me, if I knew what kind of negative response we got from a lot of people who couldn't get tickets, but clearly, to be honest, we're opening a museum, right? We're opening a major institution, and I haven't mentioned this to you yet, and I'll just give you a little bit of it, but we're doing some very serious concerts the week prior to this that I am producing as well. So there wasn't time to make it just didn't work this year. And I just begged everyone, just hang with me one more year here until we can get to the point. We're never leaving Jersey. It's always going to be here. You just got to give me the opportunity to get the place open, and then we can talk about expanding so that more people can enjoy it. I'm honored that people want to come and support it. So the least I can do is give them the opportunity.
But the shows that are even past, or even the one that is coming up,
Yeah.
is it going to be shown anywhere, like maybe streamed or whatever in the archives itself?
Oh yeah, you can look at, yeah. I mean, you got to remember when you come, we're not a museum. I use the term we use, it's just easy to say, right? But we are an archives with exhibition space and a performance theater. I mean, that's really that's why I call it a hybrid. There's nothing like this. When you come in, this is not an elitist. Bruce was adamant saying, I don't want this to be something where, only people doing research and PhD students and, authors come in. And so we developed a very unique way to allow fans to go into the archives to experience it. And I won't give too much away yet, but it's going to be open to fans, definitely open to fans, and they're going to appreciate it because no other archives, especially music archives, is doing what we're doing.
We went, so we were, you know, blessed to go to the first one, and I know the first one, you know, we were there, and you know, again, that being your very first, you know, run with the American Music Honors, you know, Bruce ended up getting COVID, and I remember your face, like you had to walk up on that stage and be the, you know, and I remember, you know, everyone, even the host, I forgot,
John
Yeah,
Stewart.
Jon Stewart.
John
He's
yeah,
Stewart.
took me to the cleaners.
Yes.
Here I am, nervous as all hell to tell these people who all expect Bruce to be there.
right.
He got COVID, and it was interesting because I'm going out there and I'm like, oh man, how do I say it?
I remember
I'm
seeing your
vibe, and I
face.
say, look, I'm really sorry. And Jon Stewart pokes his head. He says, Jesus Christ, Bob, he's not dead.
I remember just for me because you know we were also you know all the spring nuts were there and
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and then we got word that he was you know sick and I'm like OMG. I'm like
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
but I
but remember, we got that word very early too, and everybody was still buzzing and they couldn't wait. And we were just like, oh my God.
At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I sent Tom Zimney out there to do those. If you remember, he did the
Yeah.
video presentations off
Ah,
the cuff, off the cuff. He just
Wow.
ran outside, did them, and we came right back. No editing, just got them up there. It was just, but it was, I tell you, stressful. You don't even know how stressful that was.
I can't imagine.
Because, everybody came and then your first one, and the guy doesn't show up.
Right.
It
But
was
you know
good.
what? It was still a fantastic show. It was
Yeah,
it
great
really
to see
was.
Stevie and Steve Earl and
yeah,
everything. It
Steve
was
Moore, Sam Moore. Yeah. Darlene
yeah.
Moore.
yeah, it was a fantastic event.
Thank you. Thank you.
No question. And each one has gotten better. The Jackson Brown and Mellencamp was a personal favorite of mine because they're also heroes of
Yeah.
Julius and myself. I mean, it's just a great, great thing. And this year's honorees are fantastic. So kudos to you and you
Thank you.
guys. And listen, obviously we know it's growing pains, but it's great to know that you're creating something. And we say this on every show that we have that we believe, and I firmly believe, there is no place on earth than the music scene in Jersey and Asbury Park. There's nothing like it, and I'm glad you're going to keep it in Jersey, no matter what, and even if it's a bigger place and whatever. But Jersey is no like other. There's nothing like it.
We would not be true to our roots, right?
Right.
Because you got to remember, and you'll see this in the film, because we have this incredible film that we did with Tom Zimney that you'll see when you go to the visit the Springsteen Center. New Jersey is a microcosm of America, right? And musically it is too, and that's what Bruce says in this film. And so we are right at the right place for someone with Bruce's talent to grow and be nurtured. This is the ideal place, and he talks at length about that. And Stan, I think he probably took your tour for crying out loud because we got half of it in the movie. I mean, obviously, but it was a lot of fun doing it. And Tom Zimney, of course, is a great filmmaker. He's from Point Pleasant. I'm from Point Pleasant Beach. We've been friends for a long time. And it's great to have worked with him.
Excellent.
Bob, you touched on it a little bit, and I know you can't say too much, but what can you tell us about the when the archives opens the first week of June? Some events, whatever you can tell, whatever you can spill.
Yeah. Well, how about 4 concerts? All
Wow.
right. 4 concerts. So talk about how crazy I am, right? AMH, 4 concerts, grand opening. It's a lot, but I'm a firm believer of opportunity. This is the 250th birthday of America. Due to circumstances in America, there's not a whole lot going on musically because no one wants to be a part of anything. There's nothing that people have kind of almost turned off to celebrate, which is so sad. But we will do something. What was meant to be one night, it got so big. It's now 2 nights, and it will be. We will announce in about 3 weeks or so. I'm not ready to talk about it because I don't have the lineups finished, but they will raise people's attention, and it's not in the 740 seat theater.
That was my next question. Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, so it'll take place in the arena on campus, which holds about 3,000 to 4,000, depending on how we do it. But I promise you, it'll be a very special thing, and I hope because you guys, of course, represent the core of Springsteen fans and American music fans, and so the hope is that your guys will be able to get tickets. It's a whole lot easier to do it than 740 seats. So,
That's
uh,
great. Great news.
like I said, I can't say much more other than it'll be the biggest thing I've ever done in terms of concerts, and that includes all the White House stuff I did, all of that.
Wow.
This will be bigger, so I'm excited about that. I'm more excited about that than the opening. The building's done, and the stuff is done. Now these concerts, but anyway, I don't mean to tease. Only to say
Oh,
that
it's okay. Tease is good.
about three,
Tease
about
is
three
good.
weeks or so, when I'm finished locking it, I will tell you it's a curated concert. Okay, it's curated, so there's depth to it. It's not just music. There's a story to it, and so
Wow.
I'm excited to talk to Bruce about it again today. Finalized a couple of things, so it's going to be cool. That's all I can say.
Bob will
If
just
you
say
guys need any
personally.
help or you need ushers or anything,
We
you're
might. You never
free.
know. We might.
I took some vacation days.
There are just we have if you go on our website, I think we're doing docents right now, but there'll be volunteers. We want Spring Nuts and Springsteen fans and students especially to get involved. This is and the cool thing about being the Center for American Music. Go to Bob Dylan Center, they do Bob Dylan exhibits. They should, of course. I can do an exhibit on Taylor Swift. I can do an exhibit on Leonard Bernstein. I could do an exhibit on John Lee Hooker. It's American music. So it allows us to really stay relevant and whoever's coming down the road 5, 10, 15 years from now. I could do it on basically the palette is really large and which is very exciting. And Bruce loves that concept because what it does is what he originally wanted to do. He's an ongoing chapter of American music.
Bob,
Bob,
can you
just on a
talk about the name change it was the Bruce Springsteen Archive Center for American Music. Now it's just the Bruce Springsteen Center for American Music. So was that at Bruce's request or whatever you can tell
Oh,
us about
that
that?
wasn't at Bruce's request at all.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he would agree to it. It was really because it's a friggin' mouthful. But it got me to where I wanted to be, which was, Bruce bought that and said, okay, and then we started realizing, geez, you don't even have a great acronym, Bascam or Bazascam. It did not work. And I knew that because at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum, that's a long one too. And very shortly, people started to call it the Rock Hall, right? And we
Mhm.
were not, the first year at the Rock Hall, we were not allowed to say Rock Hall. We're the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Museum. So I knew I had been through that. And so when members of the board said, look, we ought to change this. I said, good, you guys bring it to the forefront. See if Bruce would be interested in doing it for the reasons that and he did. He said, yeah, as long as the intent doesn't change, which of course it doesn't, it just shortened the name a little bit. And that's the truth, is the reason why we did it.
Well, whatever we can do, when it's time and it's ready, we're behind it 100%. And, I got about 100 people want to usher already. So, but
We really support you guys and appreciate it. Having a core group of people like yourselves who are committed not just to Bruce as fans, but also understanding his importance in American music is essential because, quite honestly, I hope you guys go through. I hope you like it, and I hope you become basically ambassadors. You talk it up and say, "Oh, you got to go here." You're talking family gatherings or whatever, you become basically our walking billboards. And that's going to be important. Come January on the Jersey Shore, there's not a lot of people out here on vacation. And so we want to make sure that it remains a pilgrimage site for people all over the world to come and enjoy it. And of course, Stan, you have a great tour, and we're hoping that gets involved in Asbury Park, and we're building something in Freehold too. So that's down the road a bit, but clearly the vision here is almost like like a mini Liverpool. You know,
Mm,
you come for 3 days and you can do all of these things. You can go to Pony, you know, you can go out to Freehold, you can certainly come to our place. You can do these different things. And then and Stan's tour. And I gotta say, Stan, you know, people who have taken your tour love it. And that was an essential part of validating what we wanted to do because you guys do such a great job on that and I always appreciate it. I don't think I ever told you that, but
Thank you. Means a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, my partner, Jean Mickle, I don't know if you know, she broke her leg last week, unfortunately. So
out.
she's recuperating. She's doing okay. So
I'll give her my best.
I will. I will. Bob, speaking of the museum, what can people see? Take us through what they're going to see when they go to the
Yeah.
Bruce
Well,
Springsteen Center.
you're going to see a very hopefully clever balance between exhibits on American music and also Bruce. But the Springsteen, there are 2 floors, okay, of exhibition space. There's a 240 seat state of the art theater. When you walk in, you'll sit and watch this movie. So if there's anyone who comes and says, "Why do they call it the Bruce Springsteen Center for American Music? Why don't they just call it the Bruce Springsteen Center like Bob Dylan Center?" You're going to watch this film, you'll leave, I hope, and you'll say, "Ah, I get it. Right? I get it." That was the mandate that I gave Tom and said, "This is what we have to do." And Bruce was fine with it. So you'll then, after you see the film, it's a 25-minute film. This is no quick, easy 8 minute kind of thing. 25. The average music museum film is 17 minutes. We're a lot longer than that, but the story mandated it, so we did it. And then you walk into the American Music Gallery, and in there you'll see a lot of interactives, and certainly the idea is how in one sizable gallery can you tell the story of American music? And so again, you'll be the judge if we did it right. There's a lot of lean toward young people and toward, you know, school groups and things, so that I want this to be an educational resource for teachers and for students, especially college students. So we created something that it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I spent probably about 4 years trying to figure this out. What should be in a giant Smithsonian Institution museum of 100,000 feet? How do I tell a story compelling enough so that you understand the complexity and diversity and richness of American music? See, there's a lot of interactives. There's 19 interactives all in, so you can get deep into the music in a variety of ways. We have a song bar. You actually sit at a bar, if you will, and look at an iPad and you call up great American songs with context and comments, etc. And then you go upstairs, and that's the Bruce Springsteen floor and the archives. And so the idea here is not to tell the full story of Bruce Springsteen. We again, his 50 years, 60 years. That wasn't my intention. My intention was to dig into the creative process. I wanted you, spring nuts, who know all about Bruce Springsteen. What can I teach you? More information can I give you that makes you a more sophisticated listener and appreciate it even more, understand it, right? So we have something called the Education of Bruce Springsteen, which is a look at all the great books that he read and how they impacted his music. We have something called Bruce Springsteen Songwriter, where you're going to be able to, through technology, you're going to be able to page through. He would buy these spiral bound notebooks like in Walgreens, right? And nothing fancy. And that's where all of his lyrics are. And you're going to be able to page through. There's Born in the USA, and how do they do that? And here's Born to Run. We have all his notebooks, 44 in all. Not all are on display, but you'll be able to see the evolution of songs, right? There's also a big photo gallery. A gentleman by the name of Bob Mongaluzzi, who is a great Springsteen fan, has $1 million uh, uh, photo collection, not just tons of them, but really great things like silver gelatins of Annie Leibovitz's Born in the USA, all
Wow.
donated to us. And we'll have a display in there. We'll do Pam Springsteen's work and certainly Danny Clinch and Eric Miola, etc. Then there is a whole thing on Springsteen and his. For those who are not spring nuts, who don't know the full story, you'll be able to follow along in his career. There's an E Street Band gallery with a bunch of mini vignette movies on each and every of the 12 that we feature. You'll be able to go into a room called In Concert and sit in state-of-the-art, freaking amazing sound and listen to 10 incredible and watch 10 incredible Springsteen performances. We take you through the decades and we'll
That's
change that out every couple of months.
wow.
You'll be able to go in the inside the music and you can sit at the drum set and Max Weinberg will teach you how to play the drums or sing. Or you could play be Ron Aiello and basically remix a Springsteen song, and we were isolate the drums and the bass. You get to hear how things get put together. Roy Bittan will teach you how he did da 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 da, and walk you through that. So they're all kind of tutorials. You'll be able to hear by playing a particular chord. You'll be able to hear Bruce's guitar influences, or Van Zant's, or Nils, or Gary's. We cover them all. And then, of course, then there's the archives. So you can go in there and sit at a computer terminal, and every day there's going to be a menu, right? It's all digital. Now, if you make an appointment to see the real stuff, yeah, you can do that, but I can't show that to 50,000 people a year. So we created this way. You sit in front of a computer terminal, it's like a menu. What do you want to, you got about 45 minutes in there. Okay, today, let's see, I could look at old posters from the Bruce Springsteen band. I could listen to Bruce, a conversation that he had with a journalist in 1975. You could hear an outtake. You could hear Bruce's comments on the Grapes of Wrath, whatever. And tomorrow you can come in and be something completely different. So you'll have access to all of this. And then for students or authors, journalists who want to do serious research, we'll take you in another room, get you to real things. You put on the white gloves and look at it like a traditional archive. So all in, you're in there probably the average fan, hour and a half or so. You guys, 8, 9 hours.
Days, eight,
Uh,
9 days.
you do everything. Yeah, it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. But
And you're going to change a lot of the stuff up.
oh yeah, and then I forgot we
It'll
have
be
a
going to
special.
come back.
We have a gallery, a temporary gallery on the first floor, a big one that allows us to change out the exhibits 2 or 3 times a year. And we'll open with one called Chimes of Freedom. Um, it's called Chimes of Freedom, Protest, Patriotism, and the Power of Song. So it's all about what's happening now. That exhibit ends with Bruce's copy of The Streets of Minneapolis.
Wow, that is
So it's
incredible.
going to be pretty powerful. We're not very big. It's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or because we're not a museum. Like I said, we're an archives with exhibition space. But there's enough going on. It's pretty dense, and especially for someone who wants to take the time to watch everything and listen to everything. Bruce will take you through how he does an encore. How does he put together an encore? He'll explain it to you and show you on a guitar how he figures it out in his head. Fascinating stuff, right? So you hear about John Landau from the day he wrote "I Saw Rock and Roll Future." How did that happen? And he talks about his version of that. So it's plenty to do there for the fan. It's a pilgrimage site. We got a great store with really brand new, unique merch,
All
and
right.
so it's
World for the
pretty
Bruce.
excited, right? But I have to go soon. I got to get back to work. I work all the time now because we are, as the website says, 67 days away or whatever the hell it is. But getting close, getting close.
All right, we'll wrap it up. I have one question though. Will it be open 7 days a week? And is the first day it's open is Saturday, June 7th, Sunday, June 8th, is it?
Oh, Saturday, June 6th is the ribbon cutting, and we will have, and hopefully some of you will be part of that. We will select a few hundred people to go through that day on us, to just kind of, make sure we know how to collect the tickets and that kind of stuff. But really, for the general public, it will be on that Sunday. It'll be time ticketing. I have to, especially the first summer, because it just can't. It will be swarmed. And one thing with interactive and immersive displays, there's only a couple of people at a time that can do it. So I don't want to piss off everyone. Oh man, I never got to do it. There's a 20 people line. So we're going to keep it doable so that you enjoy it. In the summertime, we'll be open 7 days a week, and then after this, once the season slows down, we'll take Mondays or Tuesdays off to kind of catch our breath and kind of redo things in there. But this coming summer, 7 days a week, and then one one of those days will be open to 9.
Wow.
And
And
plenty
Sounds
of things going
so
on. And look, one thing I didn't mention, all kinds of public programs. You're going to hear about all kinds of things that we'll be doing. We will be a very busy, bullish place. That 240-seat theater will be busy. And so we got a lot of things planned that Eileen, who will be in charge of all of that, is working on right now. And as the weeks go by, we'll start announcing all of that. But you guys, again, I don't mean to be disrespectful and tease, but very excited about what we're putting together. We're just not ready to all the T's and
you're,
I's. T's haven't been crossed, the I's haven't been dotted yet.
we love it. We're excited. Everybody's
you gave
excited
us
to
a
see the
lot.
comments online here. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
My mind is just blown right now. Like it's all over the place.
You know how they line up in for the Springsteen concerts like 4 days in advance. Well, they're going to be doing that at the archives. Now it's your place.
Well,
Please
like
go roll call.
the idea is to make it an educational resource for teachers and students, and for fans, a place really to not just come and where we just preach to the choir, but to offer something new, a different take on a different song or a different story, or some critical analysis that makes you re-listen to a song in a different way or something. These are lofty goals, but these are goals. Springsteen fans, by and large, are intelligent people, and they take their music seriously. So, as I said earlier, the idea is to make sure that they walk away with something that they said that was worth it. That was worth coming down from Boston or wherever. So we'll see.
Bob, did you collaborate with Little Steven's Teach Rock at all?
We do. We do. They are our educational partner, and we will be announcing major things for this fall with them. Of course, I mean, they do a fantastic job, and there was no reason to reinvent the wheel, right? But we'll do things together, and we'll also do things, they'll do their thing, and I have other needs like creating lesson plans for the exhibits, right? That they don't have exhibits. So, but to basically reach out into the world of students and teachers, that common denominator is solid, and we will march together.
That's awesome.
Bob, I have to say, I was there last year for the Born to Run symposium. You got 1,000 things going on, seamless, all the transitions, the people.
You didn't see backstage.
At least from what I saw, it was spotless. So I think that's a testament to you, Melissa, Eileen, everybody, the whole team. Fantastic stuff. So if that's any indication, this will be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that was a special day. Everything that could have gone wrong was almost going to go wrong, and none of it did. It was fantastic. And that classic, when I had all 10 of them out there, which is something you never want to do as a moderator. It's like suicide.
It was great.
It's Jimmy Iovine and Stevie and Gary with few words, but powerful, funny words. And then there's Bruce. It was great. And, I mentioned to Bruce after that, and he was real excited about it. I said, Bruce, more than once you pulled me out of the fire there, because it's almost as if he could read my mind and help me, because I was trying to get to a next question or something, and he would do it for me. And it was just magical. All the years of doing this, I've done this so much at the Grammy Museum in LA. That one was the best one ever. When I got off the stage, I didn't know what happened because I was so focused. I had to go back and watch it, and I said, it's fucking good. This is amazing. Right.
It was fantastic. The
The
whole
speak-
Jimmy being on there,
Oh, yeah.
and Stevie and everybody. Jimmy was the funniest. Anytime he talks, I just love it. He's so
Yeah.
honest and open. We didn't have any idea what we were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I turned this knob. Whoop, that doesn't sound right. I'll turn this knob. Whoop, that doesn't sound right. They had no idea what they were doing, and that became very clear with John and Bruce and everybody talking. They had no idea what they were doing. So the fact we got Born to Run is just astounding.
Incredible, right? Incredible. Yeah.
Well, one final question from me, Bob. You said you got to get going and you're very busy.
Oh, sorry.
You just mentioned you watched that interview with the 10 of them. Now, they didn't allow cell phones in during that event, and it was professionally filmed. So is that something people will be able to see at the archives at some
Yeah,
point?
absolutely. And we're gonna once we get rolling, we're going to start releasing a lot of that stuff on the website. There's no need to hide it. What we didn't want was we didn't want to be beat to the punch. You know how it is. So people get that and they're posting and it kind of we're trying to build a reason to come to the archives, and say this is why we'll hold it for a little while. But yeah, we'll make all of that available, and you can come and see it in the archives. We're going to almost every menu. I'm pretty sure of this. That will have elements of that because there were so many great moments, right?
I mean, what you said, it was so fantastic. It needs to be seen by Bruce fans. Yes.
Thank you.
All
Bob,
right.
for me personally, just my last statement here, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Elvis fan. I've been to Graceland 10 times. So this feels like our Graceland. Like that, just, for us Bruce fans, this feels like that to us. So we appreciate everything you're doing. You do have a lot of pressure on you, given his stature. Being in Jersey, it's a lot of pressure. So, but everything that I've ever seen that you've done, books, writing, it's all fantastic. So
Well, thank you.
thank you for us.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm humbled that I'm the one that gets the opportunity to do this. It is stressful, but I'll take it any day of the week. I mean, who gets to do this? I've been a fan of his since 1968, 69, and to be able to be the one that basically cements his legacy in an institutionalized setting that allows fans today, but future fans tomorrow to enjoy the music and understand its importance in American music and American history. Uh, that's a pretty good gig, despite the pressure. But I take it any day of the week.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of me and Jules, and I'm saying this from everyone from Spring Nuts, we want to thank you for doing, the podcast, and making this work. I also want to thank you for all the support that you and Eileen and Melissa have given us over the years. It's a great honor for us, as we said. It's what you're doing for us is this is like he could have said any better. It is like a Graceland. It's going to be like our Disneyland, and it's something that we're going to be bringing our kids and grandkids for years to come. And you know really thank you for all your work and for all the stress. You still have you had a great set of hair, so that's better than
It's a
me.
wig. It's a wig. No.
But I've been
Well,
there, done
you
that.
said Disneyland. We for you guys and people like you, it's your musical home.
Right.
That's really the way we see it. This is your place. This is
Very
what it's
exciting.
there for.
Yes.
It's
So,
just so exciting.
go through it, be our ambassadors like I know you will, and,
Oh, yeah.
get people to come. But it's going to be a great thing. And like I said earlier, we'll march on together.
We'll be on the front lines for you, Bob.
Very excited.
Thank you for
Thank
everything.
you.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Thanks for having me on. It was a lot.
Thanks. Thank you,
of fun.
Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Really great.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Take
Have a
care,
great
Bob.
night.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Bye.
All right, everybody.
All
Thank
right.
you for watching at home. Again, we try to ask and answer as many questions as possible. We can't possibly get to all of them, but we do the best we can. So thank you for tuning in. How exciting! Like Jesus, for him to go through
What?
all the exhibits and everything that it's going to look like. Oh my
Wow.
God!
What an exciting between Bruce playing live, American Music Honors for those of us who were fortunate to get tickets. But you'll see videos. They allow people to film in the past, so hopefully all that will be up. And then he hinted at events in June, the Spring Nut Serenade. Let's not forget that, May 31st. And then Howie, you had hinted, I think at the time, that there'll be some things going on right after that. So I think Bob sort of.
So that's why we, obviously we planned the serenade around this time, knowing that this was coming up. And, obviously we can't say anything, but, as Bob was saying that, what between Stan Tour and what we do with the serenade and everything, we wanted everything to line up. So everyone that was coming from overseas or anybody was coming from, out of town could actually, if it's possible, we know it's hard, but at least if we did the serenade during this time and we didn't know the tour was going to be throwing that was not in my plans.
Nobody knew. Bruce didn't
Right.
even know that until he decided he was doing it.
Right, that was not in my plans. But okay, so now you have a tour, and then you have the serenade, which the tour ends, and then the serenade hits, right there and then we got the, all these things that are going to be happening with the leading up to the opening of the archives that week. So as Bob said, there's going to be, from what he's you know, shared with us at this point. It's there's 4 concerts. I don't know how that's going to work, but 4 concerts leading up to just to the opening of the archives during the week. So, if you're coming to the Serenade, it's a good week to stay. I tried to, we've been trying to say that from the beginning without giving anything away, because we cannot. But now, here we are. If you can stay, it's a good time to stay during the week. I don't have, I don't have any of the details, but I do know it'll be definitely worth your while. And listen, listen, like he said, he understands how upset everybody was that we couldn't, everyone couldn't get tickets to the American Music, honors. But to
Yeah,
have,
and just for the record, Howie and I don't have tickets either. Okay.
And just to clarify, you're talking 700 seats. People couldn't get tickets for MSG, which is
right.
25,000
Yeah.
people. So like, you got to have some perspective here. I
Right,
get
and
it.
he feels, but he's, they listen, and you could tell that he's listening. You could tell that he felt, and he's,
Absolutely.
and he doesn't want to do that. It's not their thing to make it exclusive and all this stuff. But you could tell also when they're doing these shows, and I think Stan understood this. Stan knows this also, because sometimes we're privy to certain things, but you know. This wasn't the original plan for these concerts. The plan was definitely to be a one-time thing, and knowing that there was a big demand, and now it's not a Pollock Theater 700 seat thing. They're trying to do multiple things in a 3,000 seat thing. So you see they're trying to do things for the fans. And that's a great thing, and it's the best thing that we can do to give back. Obviously, everyone wants to see it and wants to be part of it. Is to help them out, help the archives out, and show up, come, do your thing, and listen, there's a lot of things in the work for the Serenade. Hopefully, we can make them work out with the
Wait,
archive.
is Fat Mez playing at the Serenade too, in addition to the Mofos?
Yeah,
I'll try to get them in somehow.
you can come to my kitchen any time of the week. She's playing every night. Any night. She's doing a residency right here in my kitchen. So.
Oh, they are. They're really good.
One thing Bob said, that whatever these concerts are, I don't know, he said 4, I don't know if all 4 of them, but they're going to be in the basketball arena, which, if you know, the Monmouth campus is the bigger building, the Pollock, but if you go up, I think it seats about 4,000 people. So that should be,
Dan,
I don't want to say an easy ticket, but
Well,
hopefully not.
yeah, not like a 700
Yeah.
700 seat with at least 600 are gone already. So
Yeah, pretty much.
listen.
Very exciting time to be a Springsteen fan and a
Yes.
music fan, and to live close to Jersey. Like, we're gonna have so much access to this. My
Yeah.
mind is just blown.
Stan, I know your tour is sold out. What I'm imagining is you see movies of buses of people in India, and there's like people on top, on the sides. Are you selling extra tickets for the top of the bus?
That thing sold out in 5 minutes, and people say, "Can you add another bus?" But we have lunch at Federici's, and Ryan, you've been up in that room. It fits about 55 people. You just can't do more, and
You need to
so
do one after the other, buddy. Start
one
on
after the
Friday at
other.
9 o'clock. You
No,
do like two a
I
day.
feel bad, but it is what it is, and it's and people are like, "Can you hold me 2 tickets?" And it's like, no, I can't. It's just, I'd love to, but it's not fair to anybody else. So
How beautiful is it, Stan, that someone like Bob Santelli recognizes the
Absolutely.
of the tour, and
yeah,
it's a
thank
good
you.
thing. You and Gene, I know. Listen, the first year, you were asking to do it with the Serenade, and I didn't. But then I saw what a huge thing it is, and it's great because, it's also like every time when we do the shirt thing on Saturday, the bus pulls up and drops everybody off, and it's like we're like the last stop on the tour, so we're pretty,
Yeah, we started the Long Branch train station just because, if it's a nice Saturday, parking in Asbury Park can be tough. And they also took out that lot by the Wonder Bar. I know some of you've seen that. They're building condos there now. So
Yeah.
that was 200 less parking spaces. So anyway, we started the Long Branch train station. But on the way back, we do stop at the Berkeley to let anybody off there. That's where they all come, I guess, sure. And then we go back to the Long Branch train station.
Dan,
So,
I have an idea. Ice Dream. we do pay-per-view, so 1,000 people at home can watch the tour. You charge whatever you want, $25, $50, pay-per-view, live stand
Uh,
Goldstein tour.
Hey, speaking of streaming, Ryan, will you be even a week, less than a week from today on Tuesday, March 31st?
Let me think about this. Let me
Will
check
we
my.
will
I
be
gotta check my.
seeing a stream from
I
Mr.
gotta.
Ryan?
I gotta check my calendar. I can't remember what I'm doing next
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yes, I will be streaming. I will be
There's
in
another scoop
Minneapolis.
for you. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
5 rows behind the singers, behind the stage. So, Lord willing, my connection is good. I will be streaming that night from Minneapolis.
All right.
It's in Minneapolis. Very cool. Very.
Thanks in advance.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
Listen, I don't want you singing till then. You have to. I want you to save your voice, okay? Because put one of those scarves like Bruce puts on for the weather, and this way you're in top form come Minneapolis. Because I love it actually. Because I do it. I do it too. All right. I sing the wrong words, but that's a different story altogether.
I have one request. I told Ryan knows this. I said, sing all you want, but when Bruce is talking, shh, I want to hear what Bruce has to say, especially opening night. What does Bruce have to say?
He's told me enough times that I've when he speaks, especially that night.
Yeah.
I want to hear what he's got to say, so I will shut up. But this is what people don't understand, and I didn't even understand this. The first time when I streamed in Tampa, total fluke. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't think that with the sound in the arena and the pure volume that you could hear my voice, but apparently the way that the phones work, it's a hot mic. It picks up the closest thing,
Right.
so it's picking me up. And the people that complain, it's like, do you think I'm the only person that's screaming and singing and having the time of their life? Everybody around us is doing it. It's just
Ryan.
picking up my voice.
Ryan, I'm going on record as we're being
Yes.
recorded, so people can understand. And there are a lot of people still that have not left this thing. Okay, no, I'm going to say it this time. I don't care. I'm all out of F's. You know what I mean at this point. Okay, I'm just going to say it because we're going to have to deal with the pit line bullshit and the other stuff that that other stuff. Let's just get out. Let's get the streaming out of the way since we're on. Okay, it's not a given. And if people do it, we should appreciate it. And if people want to sing, they can sing. And I'm gonna sing, and you're gonna sing, and we're all gonna do our thing, and we're gonna enjoy it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it, and just get out, okay? And you should be thanking anybody who does it, whether it's Ryan or myself or Michael
Yeah.
Frangipane, anyone who does it. No one has to do it. They're doing it out of the goodness in their hearts. And
It's
trust me,
annoying.
I do. And if it's Pete or whatever it is, I know what it's like to hold that phone. And they ask me, how do you hold the phone so long? It's not
annoying.
easy. It's not easy. It's very hard to do it for 3 hours.
I can't do it for 5 minutes.
Me either.
But shake it, yes.
Right, okay,
Really hard.
you're watching a stream, be appreciative and just enjoy it and sing along with the person that does it. Also, I agree with you, by the way. I didn't know that my voice was, and I have a 10 times worse voice than you, my friend.
Woo! Whoa!
I am known as Monotone Howie, okay?
Monotone Howie.
Now,
Okay,
who would have given you that name?
right. And live to tell about it. Okay, so,
The only thing is, and Ryan and I've talked about this, and this is just me. Don't tell Ryan, can you move in on this? Can you get a better shot of this? He's not your personal cameraman.
right.
He's doing you a favor. I hate when I see the comments. Can you get a better shot of the of Bills? Can you do this? Can you move her? We can't see the horn section. Leave him alone. He's
Ryan's like,
doing you a big favor. He's not your personal cameraman.
well, the people are streaming are supposed to be like Tom Zimney, so
Yeah.
This is
for
what I
free.
figured.
For free.
This is what I
Ryan,
figured
who are you
out.
going with? Who are you sitting with?
Well, Mary and I are driving up together. I'm sitting with Ann, my friend Ann, but several people are around me that I know. So this is what I figured out on during the streaming of the first tour. Like whoever streamed, and God bless the 50 different people that stepped up. Like some night, like once that started in Tampa, at some point, like somebody always stepped up and streamed. You just felt like you were there. Like that's what it was. Like you felt like you were a part of it, even though you weren't there. So but it rolled out in phases. There was the stream the night of the show. the next morning or 2 days after, you're able to see like every song on YouTube because somebody was actually filming it and would put it on YouTube. So there's that. And then the third thing is like if you really want a clean audio, buy the Nugs release. Like every night they're releasing these
Right,
shows.
it's coming out anyway. Exactly.
So just because
Exactly.
you're not getting somebody not screaming that night doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can't get clean audio at some point in time. So out of hell with them. I don't care.
Right. Right. How
Yeah.
many
So
times do you say you get a duet between Ryan and Bruce? I mean, how people pay good money for that stuff.
yeah, yeah. I can't believe Ryan gets upset at the some of the comments. I mean, I would never get upset like
Right, Stan.
Yeah.
You have to take more from Stan. Stan's thing. You know, Stan is a very calm.
yeah, yeah. None of those comments bother me. Yes.
Right, lets it slide off right off of him. It doesn't bother him. Brian, you gotta
Oh
stop
my
paying
God.
attention a little bit to Stan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked not to put it on BTX. It gets put on BTX. It's like, oh boy. Thanks everyone. Oh yeah. Anyway. But Ryan, yes, thank you. And this was fun. We got a lot from Bob.
He's such a sweet guy.
He-
Ever since the first day I met him, Howie, do you remember we went to see something at Princeton University? Bob
Oh,
was
that-
up there. What was that?
That was the photographers, I think.
Oh yeah, that was the first. Yeah,
That was they had all the photographers there, Danny
Yes.
Clinch and
Yes.
Frank Stefanko and Barry Schneider. That was real good. I got a program signed by all of them somewhere.
It was good. And then I remember we were walking to our car and we ran into Bob and somebody else. I don't remember who he was with actually, but he was just such a mensch from the beginning. He's a great guy, you know, just
Yeah.
top to bottom. He really is.
He's got a lot of experience. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Grammy Museum.
He's
What was-
like at the
the
top
thing-
level. Like he's top
Yeah.
tier. Like there's nobody
Yeah.
that he's
What
done
was
as
it called
much-
in Seattle? The Music Experience? I can't remember it. I don't even know if that's still open, but that yeah, he's involved here. And I guess we'll get Eileen Chapman on at some point, I hope.
Yeah, so Eileen,
Definitely.
we're gonna have after the announcements will be made. She
Oh,
was
good.
originally supposed to come on before Bob, but she got really busy. But Bob was great.
Busy doing what?
I don't know. You know, their priorities are all in the wrong place. They don't understand how hard it is to get on the show these days.
And you see, I just want to say, you see the picture behind Ryan and myself. That was from 2017 at the Pollock Theater at Monmouth. It was after Bruce's autobiography had come out. And Bob sat down with Bruce for about an hour and 10-minute interview, which was phenomenal. And that has never been released anywhere. That's where they first announced that Monmouth was getting Bruce's archives. But this interview was so good, they professionally filmed it. And I don't think they didn't allow cameras that night, or they asked him not to take pictures. But hopefully they are. I think, like I said, it was filmed. You can watch that at the archives. What an incredible interview, just the two of them. And it was really,
I'm
really
looking so forward to this. I didn't even know how bad I wanted this.
This is the only museum I ever want to go to because I'm Julie's trying to drag me to museums all the time. I'm like, this one I'll go to.
No, but seriously, we've never had the opportunity to go to any of the like the album, what do they call it? Symposiums.
yeah, yeah.
Never. So
Yeah.
I can't wait. I really hope that we can, you know,
Yeah,
see-
we didn't even touch on future symposiums, but for the next time, we'll get that with Eileen.
Hey, maybe they'll
Seattle
have
is-
a week where they have all of our cafes on the YouTube channel there.
It's like we could sell our catalog to Sony for 500 million. You know,
Yeah. $5.
Seattle
$5,
Museum.
right? And we'll split it 4 ways.
The museum out there is called the Museum of Pop Culture Impop Mopop. Located
Yeah, that
in
wasn't the
Seattle,
original name, though. It was,
near the Space Needle.
yeah,
Exhibits,
it's near the Space Needle.
Nirvana, Jimi Hendrix, Pearl Jam.
A lot of Jimi Hendrix stuff. I remember that.
Yeah, he's like seriously like in the music rock and roll world. Like Bob's like at the top. Like he's
Yeah, and he's a very nice guy. He's very approachable, very
Very
talkative.
nice. What
knows
is the
his
name
stuff.
of the archives now?
Yeah. So we even heard that. That was the first time I really heard the background on that. I thought maybe Bruce had requested that, the name change. That's just the Springsteen Center for American Music, not the Bruce Springsteen Archives.
You know what we're all gonna say? The Bruce Museum.
Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say.
Right, exactly.
Going to the museum. You don't have to say what. You're going to the museum.
Right.
No,
Lynn Foreman, do I have
We'll say the archives.
Yeah, Lynn Foreman, do I have anger issues? Sometimes, yes. When I ask for people But please respectfully not post this elsewhere, and then I get crap for it, and then it is posted elsewhere. Yes, it does upset me, but we'll leave that at
What
that.
did what did Bob get a Grammy for? I think he was part of a documentary that won.
I
I
don't
can't
remember.
remember. Yeah,
Hmm.
he's done an amazing amount of stuff that you don't even know that that's who was behind
Yeah,
it.
I didn't
Like,
know that when I was doing the thing just to put the post. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know he did all that. I just thought he did.
We didn't even mention he co-wrote that songs book with Bruce that
Oh,
came out in
really?
2004. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
he's that big book of songs
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Bob really wrote that with
Wow.
Bruce.
how
So
he has time for all this stuff is like shocking. He's written 12
Yeah.
books. He's done all
that
these museums. He's
that's
teaching.
why I knew we could talk for another hour. But when I think he said I got to get going. I had a lot to do.
Oh,
I
Oh,
said, all
he's
right, we
he,
better
actually
wrap this up.
I missed that. I totally did
He's
not
oh
hear that
no,
part.
probably
no,
exhausted.
Yeah,
he's I
God.
actually screwed this up because I thought it was tomorrow
I
and
thought it was tomorrow too. Yeah,
no, it was.
yeah.
That's what I did. I thought it, and he said he's leaving on a plane. He's just getting that.
Ah!
So I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. And
Susan, I
so
like
when you
that
said that,
idea.
it's like, all right, because we could keep going. Look at us, we're still going now.
Susan, wait, Susan has a great
I
idea.
know. I just
We
like
talked to
I like
Bob. We
it.
talked to Bob, and we get a spring nut cafe inside the
I
museum.
like the way you think, Susan.
This
We
is what
meet
we do.
Howie and Julie. They'll sign
No,
off.
no, no. I got it. The four of us sit at a table and we just interview people as they come through. We like interview people. We do
Oh
like a
my God.
24/7
With a camera
podcast.
right behind us.
Yeah, right
filming
behind
the whole
us.
thing.
Yes. 24/7. We're interviewing people as they come through. What's your life
I like
story?
it.
Tell us how did you get to be Bruce? How did you like Bruce? What do you like
You
Bruce?
know, Bruce.
You know Bruce. Have you ever talked to Bruce?
Right.
Yes.
What does Bruce eat for
Hey, we
lunch?
got a little scoop today. He was at the archives today too.
Yeah.
They did not rehearse today, so he was at the. That's what she said. Bob said. He stopped by today. Uh,
Well,
anyone else pick up on that?
I heard it, but I didn't know he'd say
I didn't
today.
realize it was today.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe he said today. They did not rehearse today, so that's what Bruce did today. He's checked out the archives. So
You know, another thing, the week after the serenade is also going to be, if there's going to be 4 concerts that week, a lot of East Street members are probably going to be staying in Asbury. They're probably going to be around. They're probably going to be walking around. You're going to go to get coffee, and there's going to be, Anthony and Ozzy,
Yeah.
or who knows, Stevie and Maureen. Who knows?
Yeah. So
It's going to be an exciting week.
all right, the Yankees are on. Got to
All
go
right.
check on Netflix. See how the Yankees.
And I forgot to ask Bob a baseball question that I had for him. I'll have
He's
to
got
we
a good
didn't talk
baseball
about,
book,
we didn't
too.
talk about that. He's written a book about going to all the stadiums.
Yeah, all the different stadiums. Very good book. It's about 10
need
years
to-
old, but it was
We
very
need to have
good.
him. We need to have him back on for part 2 in like 6
Yeah,
months.
maybe when they make the announcements, we can try to see if we can get
him
maybe
and Eileen.
him, Eileen, and Melissa. We'll try to get all 3 of
Ah,
them
that
together.
would be great.
Yeah.
Maybe have them all on when they make the announcements. So
Yeah, probably let them get American Music Honors out of the way.
Right,
That's
exactly.
April 18th,
Exactly.
so that's little over 3 weeks.
Oh,
3 weeks
shit.
from this Saturday.
Stan, Freddie is saying 7-0 Yanks.
All right, thank you, Fred. All right, I gotta go turn that on now. So
Hey, Fred, F you.
hey,
Fred's my friend. I can
I
say
know.
that. Fred's my
Yes.
friend. I
So
can
guys,
say
Fred.
I'm just gonna say, if you guys, are watching and you have a chance there are 7 tickets left. Literally 7 tickets. Okay, we are sold out for the Serenade, 100%. But like I said, the Why Hunger and the Pony released 20 more tickets. We are down to 7. Okay, and we are out. We are done, and there's no like Howie, please. We are maxed out at the Pony. Okay, it's going to be a huge event, plenty of surprises. We're going to have a great time. You know what's coming on the week after. It's worth your while to come down. That's all I could tell you. It's going to be a blast. The Mofos are very excited. The tour ends, thank you God, 4 days before the thing happens, and
It's going to be a great day.
it's
God
going to be
willing.
a great day. So you guys really, really come if you can make it. 7 tickets left, and we got some announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. Other than that, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Brian, Stan, and Jules. And really, it was a great cafe, and it was really,
it was
really
fun.
it was very fun.
We got some scoops. I mean, I think we may have gotten more scoops out of this one than any other
Yeah.
all the other cafes have been great, but this one we really got some stuff
Breaking.
that hasn't been out there. Not that it's solid, but I shouldn't say, no, it is solid, but
Yeah.
you got some hear some good things tonight.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be a good times in Jersey. God
I'm
willing,
very excited.
and we can all use it, right? So,
all right. All right. Good night, everyone.
all right. Good
Night.
night, everybody.
Night. Night.
Adios,
Bye-bye.
muchachos.